This is David Bowie for Countdown. We shall be talking very shortly.
David Bowie was reported to have been an extremely shy and withdrawn person when not on stage performing. It was likely that Bowie coped with his extreme shyness by developing a stage persona. David Bowie also had a lot of stage anxiety, and by creating his most famous persona, or character, Ziggy Stardust, he was able to express himself freely, which he had difficulty with otherwise.
It's not really, it's Kew Gardens. And we'll be talking about music, actually.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Deanna Faye and I'm a singer-songwriter, and I make videos about songwriting secrets, the creative process, and just about how music is made in general. Today I'm going to be talking about David Bowie and how he used and created his persona Ziggy Stardust in order to overcome his extreme shyness and his performance anxiety. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel for more similar content. So Ziggy Stardust was this eccentric, outlandish persona that Bowie created for his 1972 concept album, which was called The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. The character is supposedly an alien that was sent to Earth to deliver a message of hope.
So Ziggy was, for me, a very simplistic thing. It was what it seemed to be, an alien rock star. And for performance value, I dressed him and acted him out. I left it at that, but other people reread him and contributed more information about Ziggy than I had put into him.
Right.
And Bowie played this character on tour until it was retired in July of 1973. What's interesting is that he only played this persona for about 1 year, or about the length of the tour. David Bowie says he never really felt like a rock star, but when looking back in retrospect, he realized he was the ultimate rock star. So as a kid, my first impression of David Bowie was of his character in The Labyrinth as the Goblin King. He seemed like this wild, eccentric, artsy, and very creative persona, and I was very drawn to him. But it's interesting because through his music and through his performances alone, you can't really tell that he's a shy person. Like, his shyness just doesn't shine through, so to speak. On September 25th, 1967, Bowie wrote a response to one of his earliest American fans, stating, "As an adolescent, I was painfully shy, withdrawn. I didn't really have the nerve to sing my songs on stage, and nobody else was going to do them. I decided to do them in disguise so that I didn't have to actually go through the humiliation of going on stage and being myself. I continued designing characters with their own complete personalities and environments." So he describes himself as shy, withdrawn, even extremely so, which is quite interesting. And shyness is described in psychology as a tendency towards feeling awkward, worried, or tense during social encounters, especially with new people. Looking at drama, acting, and stage theater, we can understand the stage persona of Bowie as a role that the artist was performing. And watching Bowie perform as Stardust in this footage, we can see how confident and poised he looks. He even looks proud of himself and happy. You can see it in his body language as he's moving on stage. What's interesting though is I do still sense a slight awkwardness, or maybe a tiny bit of his real shyness shows through, but for the most part you see an engaging and lively performer who doesn't really seem to be bothered by shyness or performance anxiety at all. He easily takes on his role of Stardust and as the lead of his band. And we can understand personas best through the idea of actors who take on a mask, a role, a part, a persona, or a character in order to embody another person, whether that is human or otherwise. Often roles present as archetypes or someone that represents universally present characteristics or patterns of behavior. So Ziggy Stardust was kind of like this archetype that allowed Bowie to embody this plastic rock star that was both alien and gender fluid. This was the rock star archetype. He was able to perform as this archetype in 1972, but just like a rock star that quickly reaches fame and fortune, he also quickly succumbed and retired this persona quite shortly after starting tour. And at the end of the concept album's tour, Ziggy Stardust essentially died. The Ziggy Stardust character allowed David Bowie to become another version of himself, though, to adapt and change and to experiment with his music. As a shy person, he probably experienced a lot of difficulty actually expressing himself, and so his music was his way of doing so. But by taking on this persona, he was able to overcome his shyness and extreme anxiety. But the great paradox of performing persona is that there's a contradiction of both being and not being. The performer and the role are separate, but they're also one. And this is that famous notion in Hamlet, to be or not to be. Bowie was both himself and also his persona, but yet he wasn't. When he acknowledges that he didn't really feel like a rock star, but then he recognizes that he in fact was, and Ziggy Stardust was actually how he was able to embody this rock star while still being himself ultimately. Although he was shy and withdrawn, he had a huge love for music and creating. It's possible that by creating his personas, he was able to freely express himself in ways he wouldn't have been able to otherwise. Now we can see this in other artists such as Lady Gaga, who take on different characters and personas, at least in how they present themselves to the outer world, and I believe that this helps them to express themselves more freely and more creatively. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be making more music commentary and discussing the creative process behind music and songwriting secrets. See you next time.